You know that feeling when you realize the thing that made you valuable is the same thing that made you replaceable? Yeah, that's what this is about. This is page 147. I know because I wrote all 212 of them. Every workflow, every exception handler, every escalation path in this company runs through this document. Last Tuesday, they told me they were restructuring my role. The manual stays. They're letting me go. My name is Pam. I spent 14 years at a mid-sized logistics company. Not one of the ones you'd recognize from a Super Bowl commercial, but the kind that moves enough freight across enough state lines that when something breaks, people notice. I started as an operations analyst. By year 3, I was the person they called when a process didn't have a process. By year 7, I was building the systems that made sure nobody needed to call anyone at all. If you want to see what your expertise is actually worth outside of a company org chart, not what your title says, not what your annual review says, but what the market would actually pay for the way you think, take 4 minutes and create your free professional pivot profile. The link is right below this video. It takes less time than your last coffee run, and it might be the most honest mirror you've looked into in a while. Let me tell you how I got here. I was good at my job. I want to be clear about that, because what happened to me wasn't a performance issue. I was the person who turned tribal knowledge into documentation. You know tribal knowledge. It's the stuff that lives in one person's head, the workaround for the system that crashes every third Tuesday. The client who needs their invoice formatted a specific way, or they won't pay for 60 days. The vendor who will expedite if you call the regional office instead of the main line. Every company runs on this invisible infrastructure of things that somebody just knows. My job, or at least what my job became, was making that invisible infrastructure visible. I documented everything. I built training sequences for new hires that cut onboarding time from 12 weeks to 4. I created escalation frameworks that reduced manager intervention by 40%. I designed the searchable knowledge base that 3 departments now use as their primary reference. The company loved it. They put me on stage at the annual meeting. They gave me the Operational Excellence Award 2 years running. My VP told me I was the backbone of the division. Here's what nobody tells you about being the backbone. A backbone is a structure, and structures, once built, don't need an architect standing next to them anymore. The first signal came 14 months ago. A reorg announcement. Nothing dramatic, just a realignment of operational leadership to better serve cross-functional priorities. Corporate poetry. The kind of sentence that means nothing and everything at the same time. My director title was quietly removed from 2 project charters. Not reassigned, just removed. The projects kept running. The systems I'd built kept running. Nobody asked me a single question about either one. The second signal was a job posting. Junior Process Coordinator. I read the description and felt something cold settle in my chest. It was my job, not a version of my job. My job. The daily tasks, the system responsibilities, the reporting structure. It read like someone had copied and pasted from my own performance self-assessment. The salary range was $62,000 to $78,000. I was making $140,000. The third signal was the meeting. My VP, the same one who called me the backbone, sat across from me with an HR representative and explained that the company was transitioning operational leadership to a distributed model. They were offering me a 6-month consulting transition, full benefits through the end of the quarter, a generous reference letter. They used the word generous 3 times in 12 minutes. I counted. I want to pause here, because I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking this is a story about a bad company, about corporate greed, about how they used me and threw me away. And I understand why you'd think that, because that's the easy narrative. It's also the wrong one. My company didn't do anything unusual. They did exactly what the incentive structure told them to do. I built systems that reduced the need for expensive senior expertise. I documented processes so thoroughly that someone with 4 years of experience could execute work that used to require someone with 14. I made complexity manageable. I made institutional knowledge portable. And in doing so, I made myself, a $140,000 a year director, unnecessary. The company didn't betray me. The company followed the playbook I wrote for them. That's the part that keeps you up at night. Not the anger, the recognition. Let me give you some numbers, because this isn't just my story. McKinsey's most recent workforce research estimates that somewhere between 30 and 40% of the tasks currently performed by knowledge workers can be automated with AI tools that already exist today. Not tools in development, tools that are deployed right now, in production, inside organizations you've heard of. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has been tracking displacement rates among workers earning over $100,000 a year, and that number has been climbing, roughly 22% year over year since 2023. And Gartner published a finding that 80% of organizations plan to reduce management layers by 2028, not considering, planning. As in, the budget has already been adjusted. These numbers aren't predictions, they're policies already in motion inside boardrooms. And here's why they matter for this story. Everything I did manually, the documentation, the process mapping, the training system design, AI does faster, cheaper, and at scale. The junior coordinator who replaced me? She's not doing what I did. She's managing an AI system that does what I did. My 14 years of expertise got compressed into a prompt library and a workflow automation. If you're a senior manager right now listening to this and thinking, that won't happen to me because I'm strategic, not operational, I need you to hear this clearly. The line between strategic and operational is moving. It's moving fast, and it's moving upward. The same pattern that caught operations directors 3 years ago is catching VPs now. The same AI that automated process documentation is now automating market analysis, competitive intelligence, and strategic planning frameworks. The altitude of your title is not a defense, it's a delay. So here I am, sitting at my kitchen table 3 weeks after the meeting, reviewing the terms of my consulting transition, and I do something I probably should have done years ago. I pull up the company's shared drive on my personal laptop. The manual is there. All 212 pages. The training sequences are there. The escalation frameworks, the onboarding system, the knowledge base. All of it is being used, daily, by people who were hired at a third of my salary to follow instructions I wrote. And something shifts. I'm looking at this body of work, my body of work, and I realize I built an asset, a genuinely valuable operational asset. But I built it inside someone else's house, on someone else's foundation, with someone else's name on the deed. The work is mine. The output isn't. The expertise is mine. The equity isn't. And then the second realization hits, and this is the one that changed everything. The skill the company extracted from me, the ability to take messy, complex, experience-driven knowledge and translate it into clean, repeatable, usable frameworks. That skill isn't common. It's rare. And it's exactly what independent consultants charge $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 per engagement to perform. Companies pay a premium for someone who can walk into a department, interview the people who hold the tribal knowledge, and turn it into a system that works without them. I'd been doing that for 14 years, for a salary, inside one company, for one beneficiary. The skill that made me dispensable inside their organization is the same skill that makes me indispensable outside of it. I just never owned the output. That's the structural trap, and it catches the best people first. The more competent you are, the more thoroughly you document, the more efficiently you systematize, the faster you make yourself replaceable. Not because you're doing something wrong, because you're doing everything right, inside a structure that rewards you for building assets you don't own. Knowledge workers right now have a window. I'd put it at 18 to 24 months. That's the window where you're still employed, still have access to your professional network, still have credibility in your field, still have the daily exposure to the problems you solve and the expertise you carry. 18 to 24 months to begin extracting what you know and packaging it into something portable. Intellectual property, consulting frameworks, a personal brand, a body of work with your name on it that generates value whether you're on someone's payroll or not. This isn't about quitting your job. I'm not telling you to hand in your notice Monday morning. I'm telling you to start building alongside, while you still have access, while you still have leverage, while the window is open. Because here's what I wish someone had told me at year 10, or year 8, or year 5. Every system you build inside someone else's company is an asset you don't own. Every process you document on their shared drive is intellectual property with their logo on it. Every training program you design that reduces the need for your expertise is a step toward your own obsolescence. Not because they're planning to replace you, most of them aren't, not yet, but because the structure makes replacement the logical outcome of your own excellence. The professionals who thrive in this economy aren't the ones who stop being excellent. They're the ones who start owning what they build. They take the same skills, the same pattern recognition, the same ability to translate complexity into clarity, and they point it in a direction where the output belongs to them. That's what I'm doing now. Same desk, different setup. The framework document open on my screen has my name on it now. The systems I'm building generate equity I own. The expertise I've accumulated over 2 decades isn't sitting on someone else's shared drive waiting for a junior coordinator to follow it. It's mine. It's portable. And it's compounding in my direction for the first time in my career. I'm not angry at my old company. I'm grateful, actually, in a way I couldn't have articulated 6 months ago. They taught me something no performance review ever would have. The most valuable professional skill in the next decade isn't expertise. It's ownership of expertise. The ability to package what you know into portable equity that follows you wherever you go. You are not your job title. You are not your position on an org chart. You are the accumulated expertise, judgment, and pattern recognition that took decades to build. The question isn't whether that expertise is valuable. It is. The question is whether you own it, or whether someone else does. I'm hosting a free live session for knowledge workers who are working through exactly this. No pitch, no pressure, just a room full of smart professionals who've realized that the best time to build what's yours is while you still have the access and credibility to do it. If my story felt familiar, even a little, that session was designed for you. Registration link is in the description. I'm Pam. Page 147 doesn't belong to them anymore.